All right, so you sent over a stack of articles all about therapy.
Okay.
And honestly, it can feel a bit overwhelming.
Yeah.
You've got one from Medical News today that lists what feels like a million different types of therapy.
Huh.
Another from Mental Health America, digging into whether it actually works.
Right.
And then one from the U.S. National Library of Medicine, focusing specifically on counseling in UK primary care.
Okay.
So how about we take a deep dive together and uncover the most fascinating nuggets
Okay.
without getting lost in a sea of jargon?
It sounds like a plan.
Okay, so that Medical News Today article, they list 14 different types of therapy.
Wow.
14? I mean, everything from tried and true methods like CBT to play therapy and even animal-assisted therapy. It makes you wonder if there's a therapy out there for literally anything.
There really is a remarkable variety.
Right.
And it speaks to how individual our needs and responses can be.
Right, so let's not get bogged down trying to cover all 14. Instead, how about we pick a couple that illustrate just how different these approaches can be?
That's a great idea.
Okay.
Why don't we start with CBT,
Okay.
or cognitive behavioral therapy?
CBT.
It's one of the most well-known and commonly used types of therapy.
Okay.
And for good reason.
Okay, CBT.
Hmm.
I feel like I've heard that one before.
Right.
But just to be sure we're all on the same page, what is it exactly?
Think of it this way. Have you ever noticed how negative thoughts can spiral out of control, affecting your feelings and even your actions?
Yeah.
CBT is all about recognizing those unhelpful thought patterns
Okay.
and learning how to change them.
Right.
It's about equipping yourself with the tools to challenge those negative thoughts and replace them with more realistic and balanced ones.
So it's kind of like retraining your brain to think differently.
Exactly.
I like that.
It's a process, but with practice, it can have a profound impact
Right.
on how you manage your emotions
Yeah.
and navigate difficult situations.
Sorry, that makes sense.
Now, for something completely different, EMDR,
Okay.
eye movement desensitization and reprocessing.
Yeah.
That one sounds a bit more mysterious.
It does have an air of mystery about it,
Yeah.
but it's actually a fascinating approach.
Okay.
EMDR involves focusing on a specific traumatic memory while simultaneously engaging in guided eye movements.
Eye movements.
Yeah.
I'm intrigued, but also a bit skeptical.
Right?
How can moving your eyes possibly help with trauma?
I understand the skepticism,
Yeah.
but there's actually a growing body of research supporting EMDR's effectiveness,
Okay.
particularly for conditions like PTSD.
Right.
The exact mechanisms behind it are still being explored,
Right.
but it's thought to work by helping the brain process and integrate traumatic memories
Okay.
in a healthier way.
So it's not just about talking through the trauma.
Right?
It's about physically changing how your brain responds to those memories.
You got it.
Okay.
It's like creating new neural pathways.
New ways of processing those experiences that are less distressing and overwhelming.
Okay, so we've got CBT, which focuses on changing thought patterns, and EMDR, which delves into traumatic memories and reshapes how the brain processes them.
Right.
Two very different approaches, but both aiming to equip you with the tools for a healthier mental state.
Precisely.
Okay.
And it speaks to the fact that there's no one-size-fits-all approach to therapy. The key is finding the approach that resonates with you
Yeah,
and addresses your specific needs.
right. And speaking of effectiveness, let's get to the heart of the matter.
Yeah.
Does therapy actually work?
Yeah.
I mean, it's great to have all these different approaches, but if it's just fancy talk without any real impact,
Right.
then what's the point?
I hear you.
Yeah.
And that's exactly the question the Mental Health America article dives into.
Okay.
Fortunately, the answer,
Yeah.
backed by tons of research,
Okay.
is a resounding yes.
Great.
Therapy works.
Okay, so it's not just like venting to a friend over coffee.
Not quite.
Okay.
While talking to someone you trust can be helpful, therapy goes much deeper.
Okay.
It's about understanding the underlying causes of your struggles,
Right.
developing coping mechanisms, and ultimately rewiring those neural pathways in your brain.
Rewiring your brain. Wait, hold on.
Yeah.
I remember something about neuroplasticity.
Yes.
That our brains can change and adapt throughout our lives.
Exactly.
Is that what we're talking about here?
You're exactly right.
Okay.
Neuroplasticity is at the heart of therapy's effectiveness.
Okay.
Think of your brain like a network of pathways.
Okay.
Every time you learn or experience something new, those pathways strengthen.
Okay.
The same goes for negative thought patterns or traumatic memories.
Right.
They carve out their own pathways in your brain.
Right.
Therapy helps you create new,
Okay.
healthier pathways
Yeah.
to replace those destructive ones.
So therapy is like mental exercise, building new pathways in your brain. Now that's fascinating.
It is.
Does the article give any examples of how this plays out in real life?
Absolutely.
Okay.
For example, they mentioned research showing that people who get better at controlling their emotions
Okay.
actually see changes in their prefrontal cortex,
Really?
the part of the brain responsible for reasoning and decision-making.
Okay, so learning to manage your emotions can actually change the physical structure of your brain.
Exactly.
That's incredible. What else did they find?
There was another fascinating study about CBT for psychosis.
Okay.
Researchers found that CBT strengthened the connection between the amygdala, which processes fear and threat,
Right.
and the prefrontal cortex.
Okay.
This meant people could better perceive social threats and manage their responses,
Okay.
leading to a reduction in symptoms. And get this, these benefits were still evident 8 years later.
8 years later. Okay, that's mind-blowing.
It is incredible.
It really shows that therapy isn't just a temporary fix. It can create lasting changes in how your brain functions.
Exactly.
But what about the idea that therapy is just about treating mental illness?
Yeah.
What if you're not struggling with a specific condition, but just want to grow as a person?
That's a great question.
Yeah.
And it speaks to the growing recognition that therapy isn't just about fixing problems.
Okay.
It's also about personal growth and self-discovery.
Right.
Even if you're not facing a specific mental health challenge, therapy can help you understand yourself better,
Yeah.
develop healthier habits,
Okay.
and build stronger relationships.
So it's like investing in your mental well-being.
Exactly.
Similar to how we invest in our physical health through exercise and good nutrition.
I couldn't have put it better myself.
Okay.
It's about proactively taking care of your mental and emotional well-being, regardless of whether you're facing specific challenges
Right.
or simply want to thrive.
All right, so we've covered a lot of ground already. We've explored the sheer variety of therapy types out there, like CBT and EMDR,
Right.
and dug into the science behind therapy's effectiveness, including this fascinating concept of neuroplasticity and how therapy can literally rewire our brains.
Yes.
But now I'm curious, if therapy can have such a profound impact, what happens when we zoom in on a specific context?
Okay.
Let's talk about that U.S. National Library of Medicine article, the one focusing on counseling in UK primary care.
Let's do it.
Okay.
This article provides a unique perspective on how therapy is integrated into healthcare
Okay.
and offers some interesting insights into its effectiveness in a real-world setting.
All right, I'm ready to dive into the specifics.
Okay.
What did this study actually look at, and what did they find?
This particular study compared counseling to usual general practitioner care
Okay.
for patients who had a combination of mental health and psychosocial problems.
Okay.
Essentially, they wanted to see if providing counseling within a primary care setting made a difference in people's outcomes.
Usual general practitioner care.
Right.
What exactly does that entail?
Yeah.
Were these patients receiving any kind of mental health support
Right.
as part of their regular care?
That's a great question.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, the article wasn't entirely clear on that.
Huh.
It makes you wonder what kind of support they were receiving,
Right.
or perhaps not receiving.
Yeah.
That might have influenced the results.
It definitely raises some questions about the control group in this study. But let's focus on the counseling group.
Okay.
What did they find?
Okay.
Did counseling lead to any improvements?
They did find that counseling was effective in the short term.
Okay.
People who received counseling showed greater improvements in their mental health symptoms
Okay.
compared to those who received usual GP care.
Okay. Good.
However,
Uh-oh.
there's a bit of a twist.
Oh.
These advantages seem to fade over time.
Really? So the benefits of counseling weren't sustained in the long term. That's surprising.
It is a bit surprising.
Do they offer any explanations for why that might be?
They speculate that it could be related to the type and intensity of counseling provided.
Okay.
It's possible that short-term counseling,
Right.
while helpful initially,
Yeah.
might not be sufficient to create lasting change for some individuals.
That makes sense.
Yeah.
It highlights the importance of finding the right type of therapy for your needs, and perhaps the need for ongoing support
Right.
even after a course of therapy ends.
Exactly.
But if those initial benefits faded,
Yeah.
did people at least find the counseling experience itself helpful?
Right.
Were they satisfied with the care they received?
Interestingly, the study found that patients were generally satisfied with counseling.
Okay.
However, there's another twist.
Oh, boy.
It didn't seem to significantly improve their social functioning.
Wait, so people felt good about the counseling experience,
Yeah.
but it didn't necessarily translate to improvements in their day-to-day lives. I'm trying to wrap my head around that.
It is a bit counterintuitive, isn't it?
Yeah.
This finding really underscores the point that therapy isn't a magic bullet.
Right.
It requires active effort and participation from the individual
Yeah.
to truly integrate those skills and insights into their lives.
Okay.
It's not just about feeling better in the therapist's office.
Right.
It's about applying those learnings to your relationships, your work, and your overall well-being.
So it's like learning a new language.
Yeah.
You can take classes and feel confident in the classroom.
Right.
But the real test is using it in real-world conversations.
Exactly.
Makes you realize that therapy is just the starting point. The real work happens outside those sessions.
Exactly.
And it speaks to the need for a holistic approach to mental health care.
Yeah.
One that goes beyond just individual therapy sessions.
Right.
And addresses the broader social and environmental factors that can impact our well-being.
Absolutely.
Okay, so this UK study has really highlighted the complexities of therapy's effectiveness.
Yeah.
In a real-world setting,
Right.
it's not always a straightforward path to lasting change. And there are many factors at play.
Yeah.
But before we delve deeper into those complexities,
Okay.
there's one more elephant in the room, the cost.
Right.
Therapy can be expensive, and not everyone has access to affordable care.
Right.
What does the UK article say about the cost-effectiveness of therapy?
You've hit on a crucial point.
Yeah.
The study did delve into the economics of therapy.
Okay.
And it's a tangled web, to say the least.
Right.
They found some evidence suggesting that counseling might actually reduce healthcare utilization
Okay.
in the long run.
Really?
This means fewer referrals to specialists, less reliance on medication,
Okay.
and potentially lower overall healthcare costs.
So investing in therapy up front could actually save money down the line.
Right.
Okay.
But it's not quite that simple.
Oh.
The study also found that in the short term,
Yeah.
the overall costs of providing counseling in primary care
Right.
might be higher.
So there's a bit of a trade-off.
Exactly.
Higher costs initially,
Right.
but potential savings down the road.
Exactly.
Okay.
It's a complex equation.
Right.
And it highlights the need for further research
Yeah.
to truly understand the long-term cost-effectiveness of therapy.
Mm-hmm.
But it definitely challenges the notion that therapy is just an expensive luxury.
Right.
It could actually be a smart investment in your overall health and well-being.
Okay, so we've covered a lot of ground in this first part of our deep dive.
We have.
We started by exploring the incredible diversity of therapy types out there, from CBT to EMDR,
Right.
and then we dove into the science behind how therapy works, unpacking this mind-blowing concept of neuroplasticity.
Yeah.
Okay.
And then we shifted gears to look at a specific real-world example, counseling in UK primary care,
Right.
where we saw the nuances of effectiveness, patient satisfaction, and the complex economics of therapy.
It's been quite a journey already,
It has.
but we're not done yet. In part 2, we're going to delve even deeper into the world of therapy,
Right.
exploring the emotional experience, the challenges of finding the right therapist, and the societal perspectives on this, often misunderstood,
Right.
but increasingly important aspect of our lives.
Yeah.
Stay tuned.
Oh.
Welcome back to our deep dive into therapy. In the last part, we explored the sheer variety of therapy types out there,
Right.
delved into the science behind how therapy actually rewires our brains,
Yeah.
and even looked at a fascinating real-world study in the UK. But now I'm curious, beyond all the science and statistics,
Okay.
what's it actually like to go to therapy?
That's a great question.
Yeah.
And it's one that's often shrouded in mystery or misconceptions.
Right.
You know, people might picture that stereotypical image of lying on a couch,
Right.
spilling their deepest secrets to a silent therapist scribbling notes.
Right, like something straight out of a movie.
Exactly.
But I have a feeling it's probably not quite that dramatic in real life.
Not quite. Therapy is much more conversational and interactive than that.
Okay.
It's really a collaborative process where you and your therapist work together to understand your thoughts, feelings, and behaviors.
So it's more like a partnership than a one-way street.
Exactly.
I like that.
It's about creating a safe and confidential space
All right.
where you can explore what's on your mind without judgment.
Okay.
And remember, therapy is tailored to your individual needs. There's no set script or agenda.
Yeah.
It's all about what you want to work on
Right.
and what you want to get out of the experience.
That makes sense, but I imagine it can still be pretty intimidating to walk into that therapist's office for the first time, especially if you've never done it before.
Right.
What advice would you give to someone who's feeling nervous or unsure about taking that first step?
First and foremost, know that it's okay to feel nervous.
Yeah.
It's a new experience.
Right.
And it's natural to have some apprehension. A good therapist will understand that and create a welcoming and supportive environment where you can feel comfortable opening up at your own pace.
So it's okay to not have all the answers or even know exactly what you want to talk about right away?
Absolutely.
Okay.
It's the therapist's job to guide you and help you explore those thoughts and feelings.
Okay.
And remember, you don't have to commit to anything after that first session.
Right.
It's like a getting to know you phase.
Yeah.
Where you can see if you feel comfortable with the therapist and their approach.
That's a good point. It's important to find someone you feel good about working with.
Absolutely.
It's like any relationship, trust and rapport are essential.
Right.
But speaking of finding the right therapist,
Okay.
I know that can be a challenge in itself.
Yeah.
Where do you even start?
You're right. It can feel overwhelming.
Yeah.
But luckily, there are resources to help you navigate this process.
Okay.
You can start by asking for recommendations from friends or family members
Okay.
who have had positive experiences with therapy.
Word of mouth is always a good place to start. What if you don't have anyone in your circle who's open to talking about therapy?
No problem.
Okay.
There are online directories like Psychology Today or Good Therapy
Okay.
that allow you to search for therapists in your area
Yeah.
based on their specialization, approach, and even insurance coverage.
So you can kind of narrow down your options based on what you're looking for.
Exactly.
That's helpful.
It is.
But even with those resources, it can still be tough to choose.
Yeah.
What are some key things to consider when making that decision?
First, think about your specific needs and goals.
Okay.
Are you looking for help with a particular issue,
Mm-hmm.
like anxiety or depression?
Right.
Or are you more focused on personal growth and self-discovery?
So it's important to be clear on what you want to get out of therapy.
Exactly.
Okay.
Once you have a better understanding of your goals,
Yeah.
you can look for therapists who specialize in those areas.
Right.
For example, if you're struggling with trauma, you might want to seek out a therapist who's trained in EMDR.
Right. Matching your needs with their expertise makes sense.
Exactly.
What else should we be looking for?
Next, consider their therapeutic approach.
Okay.
Do their methods resonate with you?
Mm-hmm.
Some therapists are more structured and directive,
Okay.
while others are more exploratory and open-ended.
Yeah.
It's all about finding a style that feels comfortable for you.
Okay, so specialization and approach are important.
Right.
But beyond that, it really comes down to that personal connection,
I
right?
couldn't agree more.
Feeling comfortable and safe with your therapist is crucial.
That sense of trust and rapport is foundational to the therapeutic process.
Yeah.
It's about feeling like you can be vulnerable and authentic without fear of judgment.
It sounds like it's almost like a gut feeling.
Yeah,
That sense of, this person gets me, I can trust them.
exactly.
Okay.
And it's okay to shop around.
Yeah.
Don't be afraid to have a consultation with a few different therapists before committing to one.
It's like dating. You want to find someone who's a good match for you.
Exactly.
I love that analogy. But let's say you've found a therapist you connect with.
Okay.
You've had a few sessions, and you're starting to dig into the real work of therapy.
Right.
What can someone realistically expect from that process?
Yeah.
Is it always a smooth uphill climb to happiness and well-being?
I wish it were that simple.
Yeah.
But the truth is, therapy can be challenging.
Okay.
It's not just about talking about your problems and feeling better instantly.
Right.
It often involves confronting difficult emotions, uncovering painful memories,
Yeah.
and challenging deeply ingrained patterns of thought and behavior.
So it's not a quick fix or a magic bullet.
Exactly.
Okay.
It takes real effort and commitment. It's like working a muscle.
Okay.
It takes time, consistency,
Right.
and a willingness to push yourself outside your comfort zone. And just like with physical exercise,
Yeah.
there might be moments of discomfort or even setbacks along the way.
That makes sense. It's important to go into it with realistic expectations.
Absolutely.
It's a journey, not a sprint.
Exactly.
But let's talk about those potential setbacks for a moment.
Okay.
What are some things that might make therapy feel challenging or difficult?
One common challenge is resistance.
Oh,
It's natural to resist change.
yeah.
Even when we know it's good for us, we
Yeah.
might cling to familiar patterns,
Yeah.
even if they're harmful,
Mm-hmm.
because they feel safe or predictable.
So part of the work of therapy is overcoming that resistance and embracing the discomfort of change.
Precisely.
Okay.
It's about developing the courage to step outside your comfort zone and explore new ways of thinking, feeling, and behaving.
Right.
And a good therapist will be there to support you every step of the way,
Yeah.
helping you navigate those challenges and celebrate your successes.
That supportive presence sounds so crucial.
It is.
It's like having a guide on your journey. Someone who understands the terrain and can help you navigate the tough spots.
Exactly.
But speaking of journeys, how long does this journey typically last?
Yeah, that's a great question.
How many sessions do people usually go to?
Right.
And how do you know when it's time to wrap things up?
There's no one-size-fits-all answer to that.
Right.
It really depends on the individual's needs,
Okay.
the complexity of their issues, and their goals for therapy.
Okay.
Some people might benefit from short-term therapy,
Okay.
say 6 to 12 sessions to address a specific issue.
Okay.
Others might engage in longer-term therapy,
Right.
perhaps for months or even years,
Wow.
to delve deeper into their patterns and create more lasting change.
So it's an ongoing conversation between you and your therapist.
Exactly.
Reassessing your progress and adjusting the course as needed.
Exactly.
Okay.
It's about finding what works for you
Yeah.
and staying open to the process.
Mm-hmm.
And sometimes, even when you've made significant progress,
Okay.
it can be beneficial to have check-in sessions periodically
Yeah.
to maintain those gains and address any new challenges that might arise.
So it's not necessarily a goodbye forever situation.
Right.
It's more like building a relationship with your mental health and knowing that support is available when you need it.
Exactly. It's about taking an active role in your well-being
Right.
and recognizing that it's an ongoing process, not a destination.
Okay,
Yeah.
so we've covered a lot of ground in this part of our deep dive.
We have.
We've moved beyond the science and statistics
Right.
to explore the real-world experience of therapy.
Yeah.
From that initial step of finding a therapist
Mm-hmm.
to navigating the challenges and triumphs of the therapeutic process.
Right.
But I think it's important to acknowledge that while we've come a long way in destigmatizing mental health,
Yeah.
there are still barriers to access and affordability.
Absolutely.
Not everyone has the resources or the opportunity to seek therapy, even if they recognize the need.
You're absolutely right.
Right.
It's a systemic issue that needs to be addressed. Access to affordable mental health care is a right, not a privilege.
Mm-hmm.
And unfortunately, too many people are still struggling to get the support they need.
So what can be done to address this disparity
Yeah.
and ensure that everyone has access to quality mental health care?
There's no easy solution,
Right.
but there are steps we can take.
Oh, okay.
We need to advocate for policies that prioritize mental health funding,
Right.
expand insurance coverage for therapy,
Mm-hmm.
and create more affordable options for those who are uninsured or underinsured.
It sounds like it's a multifaceted problem that requires a multifaceted solution.
It does.
But beyond the systemic changes,
Mhm.
I think there's also a role for each of us to play in challenging the stigma surrounding mental health.
Absolutely.
Talking openly about mental health,
Yeah.
sharing our own experiences,
Right.
and supporting others who are struggling can help normalize seeking help
Mm-hmm.
and create a more compassionate and understanding society.
It's about shifting the narrative from something's wrong with you.
To we all struggle sometimes, and it's okay to ask for help.
Exactly.
Okay.
It's about creating a culture
Right.
where seeking support for your mental well-being is seen as a sign of strength, not weakness.
Well said.
Thank you.
So in this part, we've really gotten into the nitty-gritty of what it means to engage in therapy.
Yeah.
From finding the right therapist to navigating the ups and downs of the process.
Right.
But in our final part, we're going to zoom out a bit
Okay.
and look at therapy from a broader societal perspective.
Right.
How have attitudes towards therapy evolved over time?
Yeah.
What progress have we made, and what challenges still remain?
Right.
Stay tuned as we explore these questions and more in the final part of our deep dive. Welcome back to the final part of our deep dive into therapy.
Yeah, it's been quite a journey so far, hasn't it?
It really has.
We've gone from the science of neuroplasticity
Hey.
to the practicalities of finding a therapist,
Mm-hmm.
and even the emotional roller coaster of what it's actually like to be in therapy.
It's amazing how much we've uncovered.
It is.
And I have to say, it's really shifted my perspective on what therapy is and what it can do.
Me too. And in this final part,
Yeah.
I think it's important to zoom out and look at therapy from a societal perspective.
Right. Because even if we understand what therapy is and how it works,
Mhm.
there's this whole other layer of societal perceptions and attitudes that can influence our decisions
Right.
and even our access to care.
Exactly. For a long time, there was a lot of stigma associated with mental health.
Yeah.
And seeking therapy was seen as something to be ashamed of.
It was like this unspoken rule that you just didn't talk about it.
And if you did seek help,
Right.
you certainly didn't broadcast it,
It was like this big secret that people kept hidden away.
which is so unfortunate because that stigma only makes things harder for people who are already struggling.
It creates this barrier to seeking help.
Exactly.
And it perpetuates the idea that mental health issues are something to be ashamed of.
Right.
Thankfully, we've seen some real progress in recent years.
Yes. People are talking more openly about mental health,
Right.
and therapy is becoming increasingly mainstream.
You can hear celebrities talking about their therapists.
Exactly.
And it's not uncommon for friends to share their experiences with each other.
It's becoming more normalized.
It's like that wall of silence is finally starting to crumble.
And that's a really positive development.
Yeah.
Because open conversations help to normalize therapy.
Right.
And reduce the shame that so many people feel.
I think that Mental Health America article really captured this shift,
Yeah.
pointing out that therapy is no longer seen as just a last resort for crisis situations.
Right. It's becoming more widely recognized as a valuable tool for personal growth and well-being.
It's like going to the gym for your mental fitness.
I love that analogy.
Yeah.
Just like we invest in our physical health,
Right.
it's equally important to prioritize our mental and emotional well-being.
And therapy can be a powerful way to do that.
Yeah.
Whether you're facing a specific challenge or simply want to cultivate a deeper understanding of yourself.
But even with the progress we've made,
Yeah.
there are still significant challenges when it comes to access and affordability.
That's something that really struck me in the U.S. National Library of Medicine article.
Yeah.
They delved into the cost-effectiveness of therapy,
Yeah.
and it's a complex issue.
It is complex.
Yeah.
On the one hand, there's evidence suggesting that therapy can actually save money in the long run by
Yeah,
reducing healthcare utilization.
that makes sense. If therapy helps prevent more serious issues from developing,
Right.
then it could potentially lead to fewer doctor's visits.
Yeah,
Less reliance on medication and lower overall healthcare costs.
exactly. But the reality is that therapy can be expensive,
Right.
and not everyone has insurance coverage or the financial means to pay out of pocket.
And even if you do have insurance,
Right.
navigating the system can be incredibly frustrating
Yeah.
with limited in-network providers and long wait lists.
It's a systemic issue that needs to be addressed at a policy level.
Absolutely. We need to advocate for policies that make mental health care more accessible and affordable for everyone.
Because ultimately, everyone deserves access to quality mental health care,
Yes,
regardless of their income or backgrounds.
well said. So as we wrap up this incredible deep dive into the world of therapy,
Yeah.
what stands out to you as the most significant takeaway?
For me, it's the realization that therapy is not just about fixing what's broken.
Yeah.
It's about growth, self-discovery,
Yeah.
and empowering ourselves to live richer, more fulfilling lives.
I love that.
Mm.
It's not about pathologizing ourselves or labeling our experiences as good or bad.
It's about cultivating self-awareness,
Right.
building resilience,
Yeah.
and developing the tools to navigate life's inevitable ups and downs.
And for me, the most powerful takeaway is the sheer potential of therapy to create lasting change.
Yes.
When you think about the science of neuroplasticity,
Right.
it's truly remarkable how therapy can rewire our brains.
Yeah.
And reshape our relationship with ourselves and the world around us.
It's incredible.
So if you're listening to this and feeling curious or even a bit hesitant, I encourage you to take that first step.
Do some research. Reach out to a therapist.
Yeah.
Or even start talking more openly about mental health with your friends and family.
It's amazing how much power there is in simply starting the conversation.
And remember, seeking support is not a sign of weakness.
It's a sign of strength.
It's
a sign
an-
that you're committed to your own well-being.
So keep diving deep, keep exploring, and
Yeah.
keep investing in your mental health.
Because it's an investment that will pay dividends for years to come.